breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you today and every Monday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN and available 24/7 on YouTube via links from 1500 ESPN and the Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is AJ Fredrickson, does a great job putting the show together, getting all of our great clips, sound bites. And AJ, how you doing? I got to say, AJ, first of all, I'm not a big fan of going back to standard time because I have to come to the studio. It's dark outside. What's the deal?
Yeah, Jeff, I don't know if there's an afterlife, but if I get there and there is one, I want to fight whoever invented daylight savings time. I hate that it's 5 o'clock and it's pitch black outside. It's the worst time of the year. I never understand why.
Yeah, exactly. We want to have daylight savings time all year round.
Yes,
that's the thing. But
absolutely.
Anyway, regardless of the daylight savings time, the Vikings are having a great time. And again, yesterday in Washington, Kirk Cousins' reunion game in D.C. or wherever they're playing, in Landover, Maryland, against the Commanders now. And Kirk leading the Vikings to another win. Now, this is not, we're recording, but this is not a recording, AJ, when I say the Vikings scored a touchdown on their first drive for the fourth time in the last 5 games. They had a lull in the second and third quarters, as they often do. They forced a big turnover late in the game by the defense, and then made several big plays in the fourth quarter to overcome adversity and come from behind, as they've done for the previous 5 games, for the 6th straight week to win a one-score game. And they're 6-0 in one-score games after going 6-8 last year. So
what's weird is that sounds like an awfully familiar scenario. Each and every week, rinse, repeat, repeat.
It certainly isn't, and they would definitely take it next week in Buffalo, believe me, or ongoing forward into hopefully playoff season. But this time it happened in Washington. The Vikings rallied for that sixth straight win, overcoming a 17-7 fourth quarter deficit to beat the Commanders. Still hard to get used to that name. And improving to 7-1 on the season, second best record in the NFL. Green Bay loses in Detroit, amazingly. The Bears, even with a fantastic performance by Justin Fields, a record-setting performance running the ball, 178 yards on the ground, the Bears lose to Miami. And all I got to say is, who'd have thunk it, AJ, back in early September? Not even Kevin O'Connell, I would say.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if you would have told most Vikings fans, come this time of the season, they're 7-1, they'd say, okay, but actually, what are they actually? Because there's no shot they're going to be 7-1. But yeah, no, it's 7-1, and it seems like the real test is maybe going to be these next 3 weeks for them, just because they have Bills, Patriots, and then I believe it's Cowboys after that.
Yeah, actually, as you said, it's really a 4-week stretch coming up that's going to be a big test for them. And I find it, again, interesting and kind of annoying that the national media and even some of the local media and fans still are not believers that the Vikings are a quality team and perhaps a Super Bowl contender. 7-1 says they are,
yeah.
But a lot of people are doubters. But you have to say, as Kevin O'Connell said after the game, that the team believes and the team has confidence. And when you win so many of these games, it builds that confidence and belief, and that really serves the team well going forward, especially when the playoffs come, when you're going to have close games more than likely. And so, again, as you said, the next 4 weeks are a really interesting stretch. All winning teams, all teams in playoff contention, starting with Buffalo 6-2 this week on the road. Stephon Diggs will have the Bills ready to play. We know that. And the Bills could be a little angry after falling to the Jets yesterday in New York. Then they have Dallas coming in here, 6-2. New England on Thanksgiving night, 5-4. And then those Jets, those pesky Jets, who Tyler Conklin, the ex-Viking, said today, we're not the same old Jets anymore, and they're not, because they're pretty good to knock off Buffalo. And so it is a very challenging stretch coming up. And if the Vikings get through this stretch at least 2-2, or maybe even 3-1, then you can say, yeah, they are truly a Super Bowl contender. But I say you are what your record says you are, as Bill Parcells once said, and they're 7-1. They're in great shape with a 4.5 game lead in the division. Ooh. It's the biggest lead after week 9 of any team since the 49ers in 2011, and that 49er team went to the NFC Championship game and lost to the Giants. So let's get into our highlights and talk about what happened in that nice win in Washington, a game that was dangerous because we were facing a team that I think has one of the best, maybe the best front four in the NFL. Certainly it's up there with several other teams, and including the Vikings when they get things going defensively, especially with Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith as they did yesterday, and even missing Dalvin Tomlinson, they still held Washington to 263 total yards in the game. But again, opening drive, and as I said, for the 4th time in the last 5 weeks, 5th time on the season, the Vikings score a touchdown on their opening drive, and it's a touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson.
Hockenson, Mark, is in motion. You've got Jefferson down here, a lot of choices. Floating one for the end zone, and Jefferson reaches up, hauls it in, and hangs on for a touchdown, Vikings. And he's giddy over the gritty.
Had a great start, again, off to that early lead. But again, kind of a lull that has occurred a little too often this year. And the next 7 possessions for the Vikings, 6 punts and 1 interception. Yeah. The interception at the end of the first half, which I don't really fault Kirk Cousins for that throw. It's something that O'Connell has really wanted him to do, take shots to the best player on their team, to Justin Jefferson when he's in single coverage, and it just was a deflection that was intercepted. But Ryan Wright responded with those 6 punts, really had a great day, averaging 52 yards a punt. He's had a great rookie season, kind of under the radar. Mm-hmm. So, meanwhile, as we entered the second half, the Vikings are up 7-3 at the half. Offense is not doing much, but the defense has held the Commanders to 96 yards in the first half, doing really well. And then one of the most bizarre plays you're going to see this season when the back judge decided that he's going to run into Cam Bynum on a deep ball to Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, Mark, you do get credit for not turning it over, and they haven't so far, as Heineke avoids pressure and heaves it deep. Samuel, the officials down there, and Samuel makes the catch! There were 3 Vikings and an official, but Samuel made the catch. One official is saying he's in for the touchdown.
I mean, Bynum's all over this.
It's a touchdown.
It's a touchdown, and you're running down the football field, and you see Bynum right there, runs into the official. He's just sizing it up. And somehow Samuel just finds a way in there. Did anybody touch? What?
It certainly didn't look like it on the replay. Steve Patrick, the back judge, ran interference. Chuckling, but Samuel stayed with it. What a heave from Heineke.
Now, Jeff, in all your years watching professional football, have you ever seen anything quite like that play?
No, I haven't. And Harrison Smith had a similar comment. He said, I've been playing football for 30 years, and I've never seen that. That back judge definitely deserves a reprimand from the league office, which I'm sure he's going to get. You are not supposed to be in the field, in the path of a play like that. You're supposed to be behind the play and watching for interference or whatever a back judge is supposed to do. So that was a crazy play. Put the Vikings down 10-7. Should never have happened. Bynum had a clear path to that interception, easy interception. And so the Vikings are now down, and they're kind of hanging on. One of the key plays, as we kind of got a little bit later in the third quarter, Caleb Evans, a rookie 4th rounder out of Missouri, had a really good day. He stepped in for Cam Dantzler, who had an ankle injury. And Caleb had a really good performance in this ball game. I thought it was interesting that they put him in there in terms of kind of taking over for the second-round pick that they drafted a corner. And so Evans was the guy that got the call and did a really nice job. And in this particular case, it's 4th and 1, and he's matched up against Terry McLaurin, the Commander's best receiver.
56 yards. Gibson, the back. And Heineke's going to roll and look and throw, and knocked away from McLaurin.
A terrific play, big play, keeps the Vikings in striking distance. And then we started heading to the fourth quarter. Things got very exciting in the fourth quarter after the Commanders drove 78 yards for a touchdown, taking advantage of a face mask penalty against Zadarius Smith. He just brushed it. It was on 3rd and 10, and that was a really costly penalty in the game. Zadarius had another really good day, but that was a costly penalty. And so as it turned out, the Vikings are now down 17-7 with 14 minutes to go, but they've been there before, and Kirk Cousins connects with his favorite target, Justin Jefferson, takes a huge hit on the play from Darren Payne, who beat Ed Ingram, the rookie, inside and smashed into Cousins, but Cousins showed his toughness, delivered this 47-yard bomb.
Cousins from the pocket, floating one, and right underneath is Justin Jefferson on the move and all the way down inside the 15.
Yeah, just going to get the slot fade on the go here, and it's just, Justin Jefferson just does such an amazing job at closing cushion, meaning he just gets on that DB before that DB is ready and then just turns on the burners, and Kirk Cousins takes a huge hit by Payne.
And we thank Mark Schlereth and Chris Myers of Fox for our TV analysis and the calls on these highlights. And so next series, the Vikings came up with that big defensive play that they've been making all year. And in this case, Harrison Smith, for the 3rd straight game, comes up with an interception.
Heineke throws middle high, and it's intercepted. Harrison Smith with the takeaway. And Smith inside the 20. Inside the 15, Vikings will take over.
Sets him up at the Washington 12. And for this touchdown pass from Kirk Cousins to Dalvin Cook, perfect throw from Kirk. Great catch, one-handed by Dalvin to tie the game up.
Osborne, bottom of your screen. Cousins for the other way, and in the end zone, Dalvin Cook hauls it in for a Viking touchdown.
The next series, the Commanders go 3 and out. The big play. Danielle Hunter, talk about him for a sec, AJ. He's a guy who's been kind of acclimating to the new defensive system of Ed Donatel, the 3-4 system, where he's a stand-up outside linebacker compared to a 4-3 defensive end down in a down stance, and he's getting better. He's adapting, and on this particular day, a really good day for Danielle, where he had 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. And this was his biggest play, forcing the 3 and out to get the Vikings back the ball.
Blitz is on, and Heineke is sacked at the 20. Danielle Hunter with a second of the game.
So the Vikings drive 44 yards, and big play. And talk for a second about the Vikings' newest acquisition, T.J. Hawkinson, the tight end. What a debut he had, AJ. We talk about a guy who basically showed up at the facility on Tuesday, had a crash course in the Vikings offense, working with tight ends coach Brian Angelico, and give the coach credit for spending the time, and give more so TJ the credit for putting the work in to learn this offense. And he played, I want to say, 90% of the snaps in this ballgame, which is amazing when you've just arrived on a new team, and had a huge impact. 9 catches, 70 yards. I'm still amazed that the Lions even traded this guy, who's a Pro Bowl tight end, and what they got for him. They didn't get a first-round pick, and he was a top 10 pick overall. And he has made this Vikings offense more dangerous. Justin Jefferson talked about that after the game. And Hawkinson, here's one of his catches on that last drive.
3rd and 4, Cousins with the flip. Hawkinson moves in for the first down.
You can just see the athleticism, the speed, big guy, he can block, and that's a 3rd and 4 conversion. And then things got kind of crazy. The Vikings they try to throw a touchdown pass to Jefferson, incomplete, and they're trying to set up a field goal for Joseph. With about 2 minutes to go, he kicks the field goal successfully, and there's a penalty rarely called on Washington for roughing the snapper, jumping over the snapper essentially. And so all of a sudden the Vikings take the points off the board. Wisely, Kevin O'Connell chooses to take the points off the board, and here you are. Now you're inside of 2 minutes. The Commanders are out of timeouts, and the Vikings run the clock down towards the end of the game, and then finally Joseph gets another shot to win the game.
Protection good. Joseph nails it. Vikings have come from behind to take a 3-point lead on the road with 12 seconds to go.
Want to talk for a second about our great sponsor, the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. It's time to visit your Select Minnesota GMC dealers and hit the turf in a truck that's designed to tackle the toughest proving grounds. That's the GMC Sierra SLE. It's bold, precise, and capable. Sierra comes standard with a 2.7-liter turbo high-output engine delivering 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque, or call a winning play with an available 3.0-liter Duramax turbo diesel engine with a 10-speed automatic transmission. And when it comes to comfort and refinement, climb in and discover the convenience of the standard 13.4-inch diagonal center touchscreen. And don't forget, Sierra is truly the MVP with the world's first available 6-function multi-pro tailgate. It's time to step up to professional grade and test drive a new GMC Sierra SLE today. Available now at your Select Minnesota GMC dealers or online at TwinCitiesBuickGMC.com. Now, AJ, let's hear a little sound from the coach. His comments after the big win to go to 7-1.
I'm really, really proud of our team. We talked a lot last night about being at your best when it's required, and how do you do that? You've got to first and foremost be able to overcome adversity, some of which we self-inflicted, caused on our own. Didn't always play the best complementary football today, but what we saw as a team continue to find ways to win football games, down 10 again in the fourth quarter, and really bounced off of that Harrison Smith interception, his third game in a row, and bounced off of that the right way by kind of capturing the momentum in the football game, and then found a way to win it at the end. So proud of our team.
And Kirk Cousins, very happy to win at his old stomping grounds.
I'm sure TJ's head is spinning, and there's a lot he's still got to learn. But he helped us today, and just got to say I'm grateful for the work that he put in, that David put in, and Ange put in to get him ready. And then there's no way we win this game without our defense just keeping us in it, letting us kind of hang around. And they just kept making play after play after play, and gave us the chance late in the game, especially with Harrison's interception, to take it down to the red zone, to give us a chance to win that game. And it felt in a lot of ways like our other wins this season, where you can't point to a perfectly played offensive game where everything clicked, but just defense picking us up, special teams picking us up, and then finding a way to make enough plays at the end and find the inches. And it's great to be 7-1, but I think, as I've said at many other of these post-game conferences, we do need to play better.
And Harrison Smith talking about his interception and about big plays and being 7-1.
A lot of these wins, we're grinding them out and we're finding ways to win, which is fun in a sense. It'd be nice to maybe win some by a little more, but it builds confidence that we're if it gets close, somebody's gonna do something, we're gonna win. So just try to keep doing that.
Yeah, I think also people underestimated this Washington team in terms of what they bring on defense, and that front four, especially Darren Payne, Jonathan Allen, are terrific players. Allen, a Pro Bowl player, and they really gave fits to the Viking guards inside, Ed Ingram and Ezra Cleveland, in this ball game. I think it's really kind of the second straight week Ingram has struggled a little bit. He had trouble with J.J. Watt against Arizona. So perhaps Chris Reed is a guy they may need to activate and throw him in the game if Ingram is having some trouble from time to time. And the Bills are going to offer a very tough defense next week, and they are a number 4 defense in the NFL. not to mention they're number one in offense. So
Yeah.
it's going to be definitely a test. And they bring Von Miller at age 33, 7 sacks on the season, leading that defense. And it's going to be a challenge for the Vikings up front next week for that offensive line.
And Jeff, maybe you didn't see it because you were maybe on your way into the station here today. Kind of a little late breaking news before recording today's show, but Ian Rappaport of NFL Network says that Bills QB Josh Allen is likely to be limited this week because of an elbow injury suffered late in their loss on Sunday. They're saying that it's not going to be necessarily a ailment that would keep him out of the game, but it's a situation that would monitor possibly limiting him the entire week and into Sunday.
Yeah, and that could definitely be a factor. And certainly Josh Allen, a terrific player, had a rough game against the Jets. He threw 2 costly interceptions, but he also ran for 2 touchdowns in that game. He's an MVP candidate. We know he's an elite player, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he's already said he's going to play.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's definitely going to happen. But I would be surprised if he doesn't play, especially coming off a loss to the Jets last week or yesterday. And so I think that you can expect to see Josh Allen. You can expect to, you're going to see Stephon Diggs. He's going to be very cranked up for this ball game. Von Miller leading that defense, as I said. And it's a big test for the Vikings. The Bills, really the kind of presumptive favorite in the AFC, even if they lost to the Jets in New York, where they had beaten Kansas City a couple weeks ago in Kansas City. And that was kind of their litmus test. So it's going to be I think it'll be a fun ball game. See what the weather is in Western New York in November. You never know what you're going to get. Could be a snowy day and a lot of things. But I think overall, as we said, being 7-1, the positives are the team believes in itself. They know how to rally. They have the confidence to do so. There was some tough sledding in the run game against Washington. As I said, those interior defensive linemen were tough. And a few too many drop passes in the game. Got to clean that up, including JJ had a drop and a few costly penalties. Darius Smith had a face mask call that was very close. And so just a lot of things that happened during the middle of the game that they need to clean up. But again, I think the big thing that's happening with this football team is they're winning the fourth quarters, and they did that again yesterday. They've outscored the opponents. I think it's 70-37 in the fourth quarter this year, and that's a huge reason why they are 7-1 at this point. And let's talk for a second again about our friends at Buick GMC. It's time to visit your select Minnesota GMC dealers and hit the turf in a truck that's designed to tackle the toughest proving grounds. That's the GMC Sierra SLE. It's bold, precise, and capable. Sierra comes standard with a 2.7-liter turbo high-output engine delivering 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. Or call a winning play with an available 3.0-liter Duramax turbo diesel engine with a 10-speed automatic transmission. And when it comes to comfort and refinement, climb in and discover the convenience of the standard 13.4-inch diagonal center touchscreen. And don't forget, Sierra is truly the MVP with the world's first available 6-function multi-pro tailgate. It's time to step up to professional grade and test drive a new GMC Sierra SLE today. Available now at your select Minnesota GMC dealers or online at TwinCitiesBuickGMC.com. Going around the NFL really quick yesterday, as we mentioned, Buffalo loses at the Jets, blew a 14-3 lead in that game. Josh Allen throws 2 interceptions, bangs his elbow a little bit. I expect him back on Sunday. Detroit beats Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, had one of his worst outings as a professional, threw 3 interceptions, 2 in the red zone. He's never done that hardly in his career.
No.
Meanwhile, the Dolphins beat the Bears 35-32, and Justin Fields sets a new regular season quarterback rushing record with 178 yards, and he's really progressing as a quarterback. Also threw 3 touchdown passes in that game, but so did Tua Tagovailoa for Miami, and the Dolphins escape with that win. Both the Bears and the Packers at 3-6, 4.5 games behind the Vikings. Tampa Bay beat the Rams 16-13. Tom Brady has not had a great year. No. Has had a lot of injuries on his offensive line, but he delivered the winning touchdown pass with 9 seconds to go to beat the Rams, who are 3-5. The defending Super Bowl champs are struggling on offense. And Kansas City rallied last night to beat Tennessee 20-17 in overtime. Patrick Mahomes who I think is still the MVP in the NFL. He was running all over the place, running for touchdowns, 2-point conversions, making big plays with his arm. Doesn't have Tyreek Hill there anymore. Travis Kelce dropped some balls yesterday, but Patrick Mahomes finds a way to win that big game against another division leader in Tennessee who was missing Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis, man, he needs some work on his passing. He was awful. And so, as we said, heading into a big stretch of games for the Vikings and some things to clean up. We know that, but 7-1 is a great place to be, and especially with the great effort that they have in the fourth quarter, confidence that they have in these one-score games, now 6-0 in one-score games. They're doing what winning teams do. They're finding a way to win and getting it done. And so we look at Buffalo coming in. I think it's going to be going into Buffalo, I think it's going to be a really fun game. The Bills, as I said, number 1 offense in the league, number 4 defense in the league. They got great stats, have a great quarterback, but they also turn the ball over. And they have 14 giveaways, the fourth most in the league, and had 2 against the Jets that were very costly. And that could play it into the Vikings' hands because the Vikings are one of the best teams at takeaways and ranked second in the league in turnover ratio. Very few giveaways that they've had this year. So we'll see how that turns out. Again, with Josh Allen, it's another game, too, where you've got to really watch his running ability and whether they kind of throttle back on that or he does. I don't think he's the kind of guy that throttles back on anything.
No.
But if he's a little bit sore or whatever, maybe he won't. But it's been an issue, we know, this season with some of the running quarterbacks that the Vikings have had some trouble with, starting with Jalen Hurts of Philadelphia week 2, with Justin Fields of Chicago. And they did a really good job on Kyler Murray 2 weeks ago with Arizona in terms of holding him to 36 yards rushing in that game, and a guy who's really dangerous. So Josh Allen, he's got well over 300 yards rushing this year, 4 touchdowns on the ground, and, of course, a great quarterback throwing the ball to Diggs and Gabriel. He's got some really good targets in the passing game, knocks the tight end. It'll be a good challenge. The Bills are not the toughest team running-wise, but they, as we said, they find a way to get it done for the most part, and they'll be looking to rally after that tough loss to the Jets on Sunday. So the Vikings will want to kind of repeat the formula that's been working all year, and whether that's great first drive, get the lead, force that late-game turnover, unleash Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter. Keeping those guys healthy is really going to be critical for this team and this defense this season. We see what a huge impact that they have had on this defense compared to past years. And so that's a really big factor going forward, how they manage the play time, I think, of those 2 guys and Dalvin Cook. We didn't see a lot of Alexander Mattison in the Washington game.
No.
And I think going forward, they're going to want to not overuse Dalvin. It's also an interesting situation when you're 7-1. You maybe have a little bit more luxury to be careful with some of these guys. Not to say you don't want to win every game. Of course you do.
Yeah.
But the big picture for the Vikings, first round bye, because it's almost an insurmountable lead now in the NFC North at 4.5 game lead. And the way the Packers are playing, and the Bears for that matter, it's just hard to see them really rallying the troops and making a big run forward. So I think the Vikings have pretty much got the North wrapped up. And then from there, you have to try to get that first round bye, maybe even try to catch Philadelphia. Who knows? They're going to have to be a game ahead of them because Philly beat them head-to-head. So a lot of interesting games coming up, starting with at Buffalo this week and then the Dallas Cowboys coming in the following Sunday into U.S. Bank Stadium. And the good news for the Vikings in that 4-game stretch, 3 of them are at home.
Yes.
And where they are unbeaten this year. So we want to thank everyone for joining us today on Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN and available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. Want everybody to have a great week, and we'll be back talking to you next Monday after the Vikings face the Bills.